A penile implant surgeon is now the head of infectious disease in the United States. Tucker Carlson may or may not be categorized as a terrorist by Trump's new counterterrorism strategy. Speaking of infectious diseases, a new Ebola outbreak is crossing borders right now with no vaccine and no treatment. Harvey Weinstein had another mistrial. Trump is about to secure $1.7 billion for January 6ers, and a French judge has opened an investigation into the killing of Jamal Khashoggi. Let's get into it. Donald Trump wants to make the IRS an offer it can't refuse. He reportedly might drop his $10 billion extortion lawsuit against the IRS in exchange for the government creating a $1.7 billion slush fund to pay out any of Trump's political allies who claim they were wrongly targeted by the Biden administration. Let me translate. He wants to pay the January 6ers, which in the context of upcoming elections, sounds like it also functions as an incentive, as well as a delayed reward. And by the way, I haven't seen many people talking about this part. The fine print on this $1.7 billion settlement offer would still pay Trump $230 million in legal claims from when the DOJ searched Mar-a-Lago, as well as its investigation into ties between Russia and his 2016 campaign. Plus, he wants the IRS to waive any potential audits of his or his family's taxes and a public apology from the IRS for a contractor disclosing his tax returns, which we should have seen anyway when he ran for president and he said he would release them. Remember that? While I firmly believe that January 6th should have been an automatic deal breaker, the Republican Party has apparently still not caught on to that. One of the only Republicans who voted to convict Trump during his second impeachment trial for January 6th, Louisiana Senator Bill Cassidy, won't be reelected after losing his primary election last week. He is the first senator in 12 years to lose his primary, and he only lost because he dared to stand up to Trump, ever so slightly. Remember when he briefly considered not confirming RFK Jr. because Cassidy is a doctor and he knows RFK Jr. is a quack? But then he voted to confirm him anyway, so what was even the point of that? And we will see tomorrow if Cassidy's loss is indicative of a trend or not. Kentucky Congressman Thomas Massie's primary election is tomorrow, and it has become the most expensive primary in history, with a record $25 million spent. Massie's challenger is the Trump-backed former Navy SEAL Ed Galrain, who Trump flew all the way to Kentucky to rally with against Massie. Whichever way it goes, I guess we'll get to find out if they were full of shit on the Epstein files the whole time or not. The World Health Organization has declared Ebola virus a global health emergency of international concern just a day after an outbreak was reported in the capital cities of Uganda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. The outbreak was first identified in the Ituri province of Congo, where 246 suspected cases and 80 deaths have been reported, though only 8 of those cases were definitively diagnosed through lab testing. There are only 2 confirmed cases and 1 death in Kampala, Uganda, which are apparently not linked to the Congo cases, though they were identified within 24 hours of one another in people who had traveled to the Congo. Concerningly, the WHO said that the scale of the outbreak could be far larger than detected and reported, and there is no vaccine or treatment available for this strain of Ebola. Also, this is further complicated by the fact that Congo is in the midst of a very problematic political situation. The residents of Ituri have effectively been under martial law since 2021, and armed groups backed by the Islamic State have committed massacres in recent months, which the government has done nothing about. So I can't imagine they're gonna do a ton about Ebola. Good thing USAID is no longer a thing, right? On top of Ebola, we're still dealing with the hantavirus, with 9 confirmed cases and over 40 people in the United States currently being monitored in connection with the Hanta cruise. And the individual who the Trump administration has reportedly put in charge of leading the public response to hantavirus is a urologist who specializes in penile implants and has a history of promoting health conspiracies, such as claiming that the pandemic was part of a government plot to control people. And if it was, wouldn't that be your boss's plan, genius? Dr. Brian Christine, can never trust a man with 2 first names, currently serves as the Assistant Secretary for Health at the Department of Health and Human Services, and he oversees the country's infectious disease policy in that capacity. And if you want to know more about him, you should maybe check out his YouTube series called Erection Connection. The Trump administration has released its 2026 counterterrorism strategy, and it is a doozy. The TLDR is that it doesn't really matter if you're on the right or left. If you're against Trump, you're on the bad list. This whole strategy document was published after months of delays, even though it's only 16 pages total and typos are abound. And the strategy calls for ranking threats based on political viewpoints rather than intelligence threat assessments. For example, Latin American drug cartels now outrank Islamist militant groups in terms of the leading domestic threat, and militant leftists are considered on par with global terrorist networks such as Al-Qaeda, while far-right extremism doesn't even get a mention. But there are apparently exceptions to that, such as far-right figures who are off sides of the Trump administration, like Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes. And we know this because Trump's counterterrorism czar Sebastian Gorka, who wrote the 16-page typo-ridden strategy, specifically singled out Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson on Fox News as, quote, not conservatives. If you are lauding Sharia law, if you're saying that there are Muslim states that seem to be better qualitatively than America in terms of freedom and prosperity, I'm not sure that means you're part of the conservative movement. True, but perhaps the answer is you're all out of your minds. A commander of the Iranian-backed Iraqi militia Kataib Hezbollah was charged on Friday with plotting to attack several Jewish sites in the United States, including a synagogue in New York City. The criminal complaint alleges that he's planned at least 20 attacks against US and Israeli interests in Europe and Canada since late February, some of which have been carried out in London, Belgium, and the Netherlands. Then yesterday, a drone strike sparked a fire at the UAE's nuclear power plant. Thankfully, there were no injuries or release of radiation, but there could have been. No party claimed responsibility for the attack, and the UAE didn't point any specific fingers beyond calling it a, quote, unprovoked terrorist attack. Though who do you think it was? While we are all pretending that the ceasefire is still a ceasefire, Trump is still pretending that he has any semblance of leverage to force Iran into an agreement to open the Strait of Hormuz or to give up its nuclear material. He told Axios yesterday that, quote, the clock is ticking for Iran, and they are going to get hit much harder if they don't come back with a better offer to end the war. You have no leverage, Donald. Accept this. Speaking of ticking clocks, can you feel it? That little shift ever since Trump got back from China? It seems that the upshot of that trip is that US officials believe China will invade Taiwan within the next 5 years, potentially choking off US access to semiconductor chips. You might be thinking, well, if it's in 5 years, that means we have some time to prepare, right? Yes, but unfortunately, there's realistically no way that the US supply chain for chips will be anywhere close to self-sufficient by then. But remember when Biden tried to get ahead of this and everyone was like, boo, you're old. US intelligence has a lot of tea for us today. They're saying that Cuba has acquired over 300 military drones that they're allegedly discussing plans to use to potentially attack the US military base at Guantanamo Bay. Should have been out of there a while ago. Or potentially Key West, Florida, which is 90 miles from Havana, Cuba. The intelligence says that Cuba has been acquiring attack drones from Russia and Iran since 2023, and they've been stepping up requests for military equipment from Russia over the past month. Though to be clear, US officials don't believe Cuba is an imminent threat or actively planning an attack. This comes as the DOJ is reportedly going to unseal an indictment against Cuba's leader, Raul Castro, for allegedly ordering the downing of 2 planes in 1996 that were flown by a Miami-based aid group called Brothers to the Rescue. And this is on the heels of last week's visit by CIA Director John Ratcliffe, who traveled to the island and warned Cuban officials against continuing to serve as a platform for adversaries, such as Iran, Russia, and China, to advance hostile agendas in the Western Hemisphere. I mean, our blockade is literally starving them and they have literally zero energy. So I can't imagine why they might want to help advance hostile agendas against us, especially when we're making it so easy for hostile adversaries to buy them off by making them extremely desperate. On a related note, drone warfare is clearly the way of the future. This weekend, Ukraine conducted its largest attack against Russia since the war started over 4 years ago. Remember when Putin was going to win in 2 days. A swarm of 600 Ukrainian drones struck 14 regions across Russia overnight, including Moscow, killing at least 4 people and wounding a dozen more. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky said that there would be more drone strikes like this to come, which are Ukraine's answer to Russia's massive 3-day attack across Ukraine last week, which killed over 20 people and injured 50 others. He still hasn't won though. We might finally get some answers about the murder of Jamal Khashoggi. A judge in France is opening up an inquiry into his 2018 murder in response to several NGOs filing a complaint against Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman for ordering his killing, which could be considered a crime against humanity. You think? Bonesawing someone to death? Between this and their Epstein inquiries, plus abandoning Zoom-in teams, the rest of us are what the French call les incompetents. The 2-tier justice system strikes again. Harvey Weinstein's 3rd trial ended in a mistrial on Friday after a jury in New York couldn't come to a verdict on his rape charge. As of now, prosecutors haven't said whether they'll try the case for a 4th time, as according to the jurors, 9 out of 12 of the majority male jury wanted to acquit Weinstein on the basis that their sexual encounter was consensual. Okay. And finally, Everlane is being acquired by Shein for $100 million. Just thought you should know. Until tomorrow, I'm Sammy Sage, and now you know what the f is going on. And make sure to follow Betches News on YouTube.